Now, the top diplomats from Russia and the US, including the new Secretary of State Marco Rubio, have met in Saudi Arabia to discuss a possible end to the war in Ukraine. Here's the latest from Sky News UK.
Positive, upbeat and constructive. The US assessment of this extraordinary meeting. A thawing of ties between two foes, on ice since Russia invaded Ukraine. Kyiv on the agenda, but not in the room.
The goal is to bring an end to this conflict in a way that's fair, enduring, sustainable, and acceptable to all parties involved.
Volodymyr Zelensky wants British and other foreign forces on the ground to secure any ceasefire deal. In a sign of his displeasure at the talks between Washington and Moscow, he ditched a plan to travel on to Saudi Arabia.
Let's bring in Michael Shoebridge from Strategic Analysis Australia. Good to talk to you, Michael. Now, there's no doubt it's good news that you've got Russia and America talking about this problem, but is it wise not to have Zelensky in the room or his representative?
No, Chris, it's not. There's an active war going on, and that war is being fought between Russia and Ukraine. And anyone that discounts Ukraine in this war forgets they've been the one that's been fighting Russia quite successfully for 4 years. And how odd to have a meeting about the Russia-Ukraine war in Saudi Arabia when, of course, there's another war still going on right next door.
Yeah, exactly. It is rather odd indeed. Let's go forward, though, if we can. Presumably, if there's further discussions that bring Ukraine in and maybe even NATO. But more importantly, I suppose, is the question already that's being raised of the security guarantee for Ukraine. Can the US provide that?
Well, will the US provide that? I think is the right question.
Exactly,
and
yeah.
President Trump is saying he won't. So his public remarks sound like Vladimir Putin's terms. So there's to be no NATO security guarantee for Ukraine. US troops won't be involved. Maybe some Europeans will. Ukraine is to demilitarize, and Ukraine is to accept that Russia's occupied all its territory that it has during the war. And President Trump today even said there need to be elections in Ukraine because Zelensky isn't democratic. It's bizarre to have Putin's terms coming out of the American president's mouth. What are America's terms for ending the war?
Yeah, exactly. Now, thinking this through, though, also if there were British troops there and, say, German or French, because they're members of NATO, would that effectively rope in a US guarantee?
I think that's the Europeans' hope. So British Prime Minister Keir Starmer has actively said he's open to putting UK peacekeeping troops in, but they'd need a US backstop, which is another way of saying they'd need an American security guarantee. And that's something Donald Trump has said he won't give.
We're nearly out of time, Michael, but can you just give me your thoughts on these repugnant trades now of children's bodies and their mother's body for terrorists in Israeli jails?
Well, if Hamas wanted to harden Israeli policy and make it more likely that the war resumes, how they're parading these damaged hostages and now dead young children and their mothers is the best way for them to restart the war. It'll harden Israeli hearts, as it should.
Thanks for joining us, Michael. I appreciate it. Michael Shoebridge there from Strategic Analysis Australia.